Tonight, Republicans want you to believe that Bill Clinton is opposed to the Bill Clinton tax rates because he said this.
They will have to extend, they will probably have to put everything off until early next year. That's probably the best thing to do right now. But the Republicans don't want to do that unless he agrees to extend the tax cuts permanently, including for upper income people. And I don't think the president should do that. That's what they're fighting about. I don't have any problem with extending all of it now, including the current spending levels. The real issue is not whether they should be extended for another few months. The real issue is whether the price the Republican House will put on that extension is the permanent extension of the tax cuts, which I think is an error.
So it's very clear that Bill Clinton opposes the permanent extension of the Bush tax rates that Republicans want. And all Clinton was referring to there is a possible legislative tactic to achieve what both he and President Obama want, which is an extension of the Bush tax rates for all except the top tax brackets. But this is what Republicans claim they heard Bill Clinton say.
Extending all of the current tax rates for at least a year is really important if we're going to help job creators gain a little more confidence and put Americans back to work. Even Bill Clinton came out for it.
I would make the same argument. It's the same argument, actually, that former President Bill Clinton has been making, and that is that we need to extend these tax rates.
President Bill Clinton gets it. He knows in this economy you should not be raising taxes on anybody.
So it took a while, but Republicans in Congress finally realized that Bill Clinton gets it, which I guess means they agree with him when he said this.
How much is Europe and how much are the president's policies?
Well, I don't think the thing that's cost jobs here has been the Congress policies. The Republican position is they want austerity now, and they've enforced it in the House. So while we had 4.3 million private sector jobs in the last 27 months, we've lost 600,000 teachers, firemen, other state and local jobs.
Is the tax policy today fair?
Well, first of all, a minimum tax of 30% is not all that high. Most Americans agree that if we could have a long-term debt reduction plan, that the people that got the most tax cuts in the last decade should give back a little and contribute to it.
Joining me now are Richard Wolff, an MSNBC contributor, and Karen Finney, former DNC communications director and an MSNBC contributor. Richard, I said last night that this is much ado about nothing. Republicans are just pretending that Bill Clinton said this stuff, but they're continuing it and pushing it, and it is a strange new tactic. I haven't seen this before, where they simply lie about what someone has said, saying, oh, no, he's on our team now. And they take someone as prominent and as publicly opposed to their position as Bill Clinton. How far do they think they can get with this?
Oh, look, you've got a candidate, a presumptive nominee who doesn't mind misrepresenting his own opinions. So why would any of them care about misrepresenting a former president? Look, there are a couple of things that are being wrapped up together and obviously distorted and lied about here. There are a couple of things. First of all, what former President Clinton was talking about was a sort of legislative need, knowing that all of this stuff is building up towards the end of the year, spending cuts, the tax cuts being extended, all of that stuff. And there's a sort of gasp among the people you used to work with saying, can we write that legislation in the brief time of a lame duck Congress? That's one part of it. Another part of it is, can the economy sustain everyone looking at each other in this staring game and everything going up in flames, right? The fiscal cliff they all talk about. And the third piece of it is, what's the politics of addressing it now? So the Republicans are not saying extend all the tax cuts permanently. They're saying, well, we need certainty, but only for a year or 6 months, or just give us a little bit more. And so they're all jockeying around that. And then you've got President Clinton noodling out there in public on all of these subjects, and so easy to distort it in a presidential campaign.
Let's listen to what Jay Carney had to say about it today.
President Obama has been clear about his position, and it has not changed. We should not extend, and he will not extend the tax cuts, the Bush-era tax cuts for the wealthiest 2% of the American people. His position is that we absolutely should extend the tax cuts for the middle class. We should not extend, and he will not extend, tax cuts for the highest income Americans. He will not support extension. He will not support extension of the upper income Bush tax cuts. He could not be more clear.
Karen Finney, being that clear doesn't seem to get you anywhere when you're talking to Republicans.
Well, that's true. But, Lawrence, there's another part of the equation here that's a problem, and that is, frankly, my Democrats. We should not be ceding the ground on this. It is very obvious what the Republicans are trying to do and why it is in their interest to try to spin Clinton's comments and Lawrence Summers' comments to try to suggest that they're saying something they're not. But we don't need to buy into it. And that's part of what bothers me about this. From the perspective of just a political tactic, why we're accepting letting the Republicans tell us what time it is, letting Rush Limbaugh tell us what time it is ridiculous. There is no daylight between what the president is saying, what President Clinton was saying, what Lawrence Summers was saying. You have both Clinton and Summers saying time and time again, there's no daylight between us and the president. So why this is still a conversation? Let's let the Republicans have that conversation among themselves, but why the rest of us are legitimizing it, I think, is a huge mistake.
Let's listen to the Rush Limbaugh take on this.
The smart thinking, conventional wisdom is that Clinton is simply giving Obama cover to extend the Bush tax cuts, that Obama would pay a price if he did it himself without any support. If he wins re-election, the Bush tax cuts are not going to be extended. I don't care what he can extract from the Republicans for it. It isn't going to happen. And that's why Clinton running around and saying he thinks they should be extended is such a big deal.
Richard Wolff, there's Rush Limbaugh.
Yes,
on the smart thinking.
I didn't know you could prescribe that in a bottle. Look, the smart thinking. What's going on here right now is obviously this pre-positioning for the big discussion, the big negotiation, the grand compromise, if you will, at the end of after the election. And what's interesting here is really the Republicans have one card to play, which is the debt ceiling yet again. And so that's all they have. The president has two cards, which is let the tax cuts expire and let the spending cuts, especially the defense cuts, move forward. So he has two things to negotiate with, and here you've got the Republicans say, actually, I think it's a kind of weak move from their part, where they're going, well, just give us 6 months and that's enough. I think there's jockeying going on here.
Richard Wolff and Karen Finney, that's going to have to be the last word on it tonight. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks.
Coming up, a moment captured on film that we can never forget. The little boy in that picture with President Obama will join me later and tell us what that felt like. And in the rewrite tonight, Mitt Romney talks like a communist, a hardcore communist, and no one notices, but it has landed him in tonight's rewrite. And next, something even stranger about Mitt Romney. Joe Conason has an exclusive report for us on Romney's very peculiar relationship with uniforms. We'll show you the one he loves, or at least used to wear, and we'll show you the military uniforms that he and his father and his sons have avoided wearing. That's coming up.